There are some things that are on my heart today that I want to share with you from a very, just a very practical principle perspective. But before I get there, I want to do a couple of things. I want to make it. I was getting ready to ask Stephen a question, but I want to put him on the spot. But before I put you on the spot, there are some people that have been coming to me saying, you know, Pastor, the things that you have been teaching us about finances, credit report, credit scores, those things have been a blessing, and I've seen results. Anybody in here, have y'all put anything, 7-day credit, have y'all put any of that to practice? Has any of it worked for you? Is anyone here that would be willing to share very quickly? I'm talking about rapid fire testimonials about some of the things that you're doing in order to get results or to get some results. Yes, Miss Lauren, come on. Stephen, you can come. Come on. You got to come up. You know you're a public speaker. You know all about this. You can't. Come on. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good morning, church. So,
this is Lauren Davidson Chambers. Let's put the Chambers on there. All right, Miss Lauren, go on.
Yes, Pastor. So, I have applied. I actually paid a credit card off on Friday.
Wow.
And so, what I did was when he said, looking at the date that is due and the interest date, so on your billing statement, it will break down like the due date and then the billing date when it starts over. And I called in to also know, and I learned that you can also, you can negotiate your interest rate. So I was able to lower the interest rate, which helped me get the credit card paid down faster towards the principal balance. So what I was doing was I was doubling up on the payment. So I wasn't paying the minimum. So the minimum was $35. So it was due on the 15th. So what I was doing was doing the payment on the 15th and the 30th. So that 30th payment was being caught actually to what was due, and it didn't get caught into the principal, into the interest, because the billing was not starting until the 5th of the month, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So I'm not a financial person, but I know how to read and apply, and I did that. And so I was able to pay it off faster, and I was able to catch it before the interest eats it all up, if that makes any sense.
Yes. Oh, awesome. Congratulations. Come on, let's give a big one. I saw another hand. Miss Wendy, do you, Elder Shepherd? Come on, hurry up. Brother Edward, come on. I just need some rapid fire testimonials. The Bible saying they overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. And so testimonials are cool. They work. They help, because now you have the opportunity to see that if it works for someone else, it works for me. And it is not that I don't have all the answers. The thing is when we give attention to something and we decide to make some changes, then we can see those things work for us. So I've just brought to our attention some things that we need to attend to, and it's working in your lives. So, Brother Edward.
How y'all doing? Nice. Doing well. So I had a credit card in my business account that I don't really pay too much attention to the credit cards that are in business accounts, because they don't affect you the same way they do as in a personal account. So I'm, paying a decent amount on it. However, after doing some research, I realized that if I paid this account off early, I would save $2,600.
Yeah, there you go.
When I looked at it, I said, $2,600 or, lose $2,600. I said, yeah, we're going to pay this one off.
Yes.
Just because we don't always look at the amount that we're being charged for the credit that we have. So you might think, oh, I can make this payment or I can pay this off early. But sometimes if you look at how long it will take you to pay it off, if you're just paying the minimum or paying a little bit more than the minimum, and put a couple extra payments on there, a couple extra dollars, you can save yourself a substantial amount of money. So.
Wow, awesome. Man, thank you. And let me tell you something. You want more in your pockets than you're giving away. Amen. Say this with me. Say, I want more in my pockets than I'm giving away. That's a $2,600 blessing. Let's give him a big old hand right there. That's huge. Now, come on, I told you, get the hating out. Y'all like, Chai, 2,600 in interest. I don't even have a $2,600 limit credit card. Say this with me. Say, get your thinking up.
Well, you say get your thinking up. That's one thing. Right now, I have a business. I'm a travel agent and doing those things there, right? But I use the travel agency strictly for me, really. I'm not trying to do no whole lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. But anyway, since I started doing it and I started paying, getting my bills paid off, you know about my credit score going up 45 points in like
a week and a half
or so. So, I mean, with that going on anyway, I got this company. They keep sending me this thing because they want me to get their credit card. And their credit card, their interest is kind of high, so I use my own. I got a credit card that I've been had since 70 something. My interest rate is like 8%.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
But anyway, this company sends me this thing. It's IBG, and now they're trying to get me to give me a card. They're trying to send me a card, and just to let you know, like Pastor said, get your hopes up, get your ideas up. It's a $500,000 card. Okay.
It's a what and how much?
500,000.
Say that again. Put your thing.
It's a $500,000 card.
Did we turn that off? What happened? Would I turn that back on?
It's a $500,000 card. $500,000.
You didn't say that. Now this is the way I need to change your vernacular, because if you can change your language, you can change your life. Look and say this with me. Say, if I can change my language, I can change my life. So my question is, why didn't he say $500,000? So what is the credit limit?
Oh, $500,000. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. I'm going to say it again. Say, if I can change my language,
I can change my language.
I can change my life.
I don't want to say $500,000. I'm going to put nobody in shock.
No, you don't want to. Put them in shock. They need to be shocked into what's possible.
Okay. All right.
Okay, we're not lowering the standard now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not lowering the standard.
Yes, sir.
Because we're teaching this from a biblical perspective. Right. I could see if I was just telling you, name it and claim it and pull the lever and drop $50 down here and you're going to get 100,000. No, we're teaching you principles backed by the Bible, by Scripture, on how to deal with credit scores, credit report, handling debt, managing debt, being good stewards. Right. It's by the book. Okay? So I don't feel I have no shame in what God has told me to teach, and I'll tell you why in just a little bit. Yes, sir.
Well, that's it.
45 points. Now, let me tell you what. Sometimes we hesitate. You look at the interest rate because you're thinking about using it. But you could now have that. Right. Okay, have that. And you don't have to use it or go buy a piece of bubble gum every 6 months and just have that. And you don't have to deal with the 27-28% interest rate, but you have the credit limit that shows, and it can open the door to other things at an appointed time that you may not know is coming up.
Yeah. Well, see, the one thing I did it on my 8% card. They moved that up.
They raised the limit on your 8% because they gave you.
Because they gave me the.
Yeah, see, there it is, right there.
See,
yeah, there we go. And they're looking at the management or your stewardship of those credit debt responsibilities.
That's right.
So the better steward you are, a steward meaning faithfulness. If you are faithful over a what? Few things, he will make you ruler over many. He will graduate you. Someone say graduation. Yes, come back. We want to hear you, because I just want it to be documented, because when this knowledge is coming and this insight, you can stay up here, Elder. Come on up here, Brother Edward.
So listening to Elder Shepherd, a lot of folks don't always know. It's better to have access to more credit than you need than to have limited access to credit. Because what happens is when you do get those emergencies or when you do have to use your credit card, if you only have access to $1,000 worth of credit and you use $1,000 worth of credit, that's 100% credit utilization.
Yes.
However, if you have access to $10,000 worth of credit and you use $1,000, that's only 10% of usage. So your credit score is not going to be hit as bad. So don't be afraid to ask for an increase in your credit limits. Just don't go run it up just because. Use your credit like you want to, like say, imagine if you were underwater and it was hard to breathe and somebody put one of them oxygen masks down there. Use your credit like that. Only when you really need it.
Yes.
Because you don't want to get into the habits of using credit unnecessarily. Now you run up $10,000 worth of credit and you only can pay $100 or $200 a month on it. It's going to take you forever to pay it off.
Yeah.
But never be afraid to increase those credit limits, because just something as simple as doubling your credit limit from $1,000 to $2,000 could raise your credit score up pretty quickly too.
Yes, absolutely. It increases your credit limits. Now, this gentleman right here is an underwriter. I won't say for what banking institution, but he's an underwriter, meaning that this gentleman, come up here, Trey, real fast. Trey, I can call you Trey at church, right? I have to call him Will Banks when he's at the institution. I call him Trey at church. What's up, my guy? I get the chance to see him quite often. Come over here. So these guys, I think they know each other, but so you talked about, come on up here, y'all. I smell good today now. So you talked about when a person comes in and they come to you for resources or money, so you now gather in their information, and what's your role?
Like you said, gather the info, figure out their income, send it over to this guy, so that way they can, look and see if their credibility is enough to lend to. It just really depends on the banking relationship, though.
So what you're saying is that it depends on the banking relationship. It also, so what you're saying is you were there kind of to do the pre-screening, and then after you pre-screen, they're going to send it, which your pre-screening is it usually kind of automated? It's usually computer-driven.
Right. Yeah. Put in the application, put the gross monthly income, and then everything else is just, like I said, over to the underwriters.
Okay. Get authorization to get your Social Security, and then bam, they're looking for your credit profile. Now, the real credit score or the real credit report is from annualcreditreport.com. That is the real one. That is authentic. All right? That is sanctioned by the government. That is the authentic. So what you're getting from Karma, Sesame, and even from myfico.com, even though it's a FICO product, you still have to, that is the authorized place that if you ever have to challenge, sue for what's wrong or inaccurate on your credit score under the FCRA, Fair Credit Reporting Act, they're going to use that from annualcreditreport.com. They're not going to take they're not looking at MyFICO and Credit Sesame and Credit Karma. It's what comes from annualcreditreport.com. Now, Trey pre-screens, then it goes down the pipeline, and it ends up with Mr. Steven. Tell us what are you all, your waves are nice, man. I like that. I like that. You're nice. So what happens behind the scenes, as much as you can share? What are you looking for when you're looking at whether you're going to make this loan or not, Mr. Steven?
So I have to underwrite several products for our company. So it depends on what product that you're
Okay,
trying
now
to get a loan for.
tell us the type of products that you're underwriting.
So I underwrite our HELOCs. I do our unsecured lines of credit. I do our security-backed line of credit.
Okay, so we're going to go through and understand that. So a HELOC is,
A home equity line of credit.
okay, a home equity line of credit. Now, there is a difference between a HELOC and a HELoan. A HELOC works like a credit card. A HELoan is like an installment loan with a fixed payment date and time. All right, so if you get a HELoan, which is against your mortgage or your property, your real estate, a HELoan does not give you revolving access to credit. All right, whereas a HELOC works like a credit card that is backed by or secured by your home, the equity in your home, and then you use it like a credit card. And even some organizations now, institutions, will give you a credit card or a access card to go to use it versus having the old school write a check.
Much better interest rate too.
And a much better interest rate on a HELOC than it is on a credit card. Now, so we got a HELOC, tell us about securities-backed loans. What is that?
So it's basically you're putting up collateral, so like your retirement securities,
Stock.
that thing, yes, in order for you to get a loan for that. So,
Equity in a universal index life,
right,
equity against a whole life policy.
right.
So anything that you have equity in, equity means that you have more value in it, or it's worth more than what you have left to pay for it, or the balance of it. Okay? So you have you have that amount. So Mr. Stephen will look at that and they will make a loan versus any equity or collateralized thing that you have, that they can say, okay, we can back it with that. All right, so now talk to us. What goes on behind the scenes, behind the curtain, Wizard of Oz, when you are looking at Vince Allen's profile to determine if I can get $500,000?
So I do private wealth lending. So you have to have a certain amount of money or relationship with our bank in order to be considered private wealth.
Okay.
And then private wealth, it's a lot that goes into it. Sometimes I feel like it's like playing Tetris, because you got to look at one thing and then make sure that it fits in a certain box, and then you're looking at something else. But just to kind of simplify it, the first thing that I tend to do is I look at your credit. So I'm looking at your credit report. I'm checking it, seeing if everything is fine. If your mortgage, if it has something that says loan modified on it, then I need to know exactly what's happened.
Okay.
If you have disputes, I need to know, have those disputes already been resolved. And just depending on the score, like if your score is, kind of teetering, sometimes I really want to know about you.
All right, so I just saw in your mind that teetering has a number. What is the teetering number?
So, yeah, it depends on the loan. So we have cutoff scores. And so depending on, what your score is, and if I see things that may have been disputed, because, disputes can kind of help push your credit score up.
Right.
But it's only for a certain amount of days.
Right.
And then after that, once they're resolved, then we can pinpoint your true credit score. So sometimes some people know that, if I dispute something right before I actually do an application on something, it could possibly help my score. But
okay, so I'm going to go here. So they probably will look at your credit score, but they're really analyzing your credit report as well. So just because you've gotten your score up to a 750 doesn't mean they're not looking at the details of your credit score to see how you have behaved historically, or if, 5 years ago you were 30, 60, 90 days on your mortgage, but you're coming and asking for a mortgage product, they're going to consider that because there are different FICO score versions or measurements. FICO 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever. It's up to 10T something now. But there are different FICO scores or FICO versions that they use for credit cards, that they use for mortgage, that they use for, what's the other one? For car loans, all right? So there are different FICO models for different situations. So a FICO score for a car will weigh more how you have dealt with your car payments and things like that and installment loans. And then a mortgage FICO will look at the history of your mortgage relationships to see how you have handled and interacted with your mortgages and stuff like that. So, all right, bring us home, Mr. Stephen.
So after we review your credit, the next thing that I typically do is check income. And so with income, I'm looking at tax returns, business tax returns, and I guess just maybe a tip is for, especially for people that own businesses, they tend to write off a lot of things. And so a lot of times, and I know, and I think they even know, a lot of times it's probably not reporting your true income.
Right.
Because you've expensed out a lot.
Right.
But when you are thinking about borrowing,
Right.
you need to think about your tax returns as well, because a lot of
Right.
people get upset when we say, well, based on your,
Your
what
returns.
your cash flowing is saying that you're not making as much. But then I can pinpoint and tell you,
Yeah.
well, this is why you're not making the money that you think that you are, that the tax returns are showing that you're not making. So,
Yeah.
keep that in mind, and I understand, for tax reasons, if you can write off some things,
Yeah.
to help yourself out, it makes sense. But when you are trying to borrow, that's the catch-22.
Yeah.
It doesn't show as much money as that you think or that you seem to be making on the cash flow side. So
Gotcha.
we look at that as well. I think another tip that I would tell people is when you're looking to borrow, make sure that you have a plan. Just don't borrow something just because you can. Make sure that you have a plan for the money that you're looking to borrow. It helps when you have a plan on the money that you're trying to use. Also, another thing that I would like to give a tip for is have a relationship with a banker. I've been in the role that I've been in the branches before. And so it helps when you have a relationship with someone inside the branch, because they can advocate for you and kind of give the underwriter some insight on what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
If you have
So
a
true.
relationship,
Yeah.
it bridges that gap. A lot of times I see a lot of people coming and doing loans with us, and we have no relationship with them at all. So then when we ask, the lender's like, well, could you give me some? And they're like, well, I don't even know 'em.
Now it's not a requirement
No, it's not required.
that they have a relationship, but it is it's an asset. It will help along the process if you have a relationship. So what do you mean by relationship? What does it mean by have a relationship with the bank and with the banker? What are you talking about?
So for me, when we're reviewing applications, a lot of times, and I shouldn't think like this, but sometimes it becomes like a red flag to me if you're new and you're trying to get something, especially if it's a lot. Because then I'm thinking to myself, well, who do you normally bank with?
Right,
And then why'd you come over here?
right.
So it must mean that you couldn't get what you wanted over there.
Who
so that
you
means
been
are-
rolling with,
Yeah.
and why you done rolled up on me now?
Yes.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? You hear what I'm saying? Who have you normally been rolling with, and why are you rolling up on me now? So it is not a requirement. A bank cannot necessarily say no to you because you don't have a prior relationship. However, the prior relationships, let's talk about relationships. Knowing somebody, Will Banks, knowing Stephen, knowing Peggy. Because when the bank that one of them that I banked with was going through some changes and closing branches, I had a one go-to person. And this go-to person was not a manager or assistant manager. And I knew where she was, and when I needed something to happen, I went to this one person. You know who I'm talking about, don't you? I went straight to that one person, and I'm like, I need your help. Then she would bridge me with whatever I needed and wherever I needed to go if she couldn't help me. Then once that happened, because I used to bank down here at a bank that was on 2nd Avenue, and they closed it, and that was my best I was so mad, I sent nasty letters. How can you close this bank right here when the people that care for me and love me and I love them and care for them, and you just closed this bank? They weren't thinking about my feelings. They were thinking about their money. Now, I want you to get that now. Banks are not really thinking about your feelings a whole lot. They're thinking about the business deal. And does the deal make sense? So relationships, who do I know? Do I have money in savings? Do I have it in checking? Do I have CDs? Do I have investments? What does my banking portfolio look like? Now, I will say this about one bank, and you'll hear stuff about every bank because, there's a bank around that got $700 million to get bailed out, bought out. We hear stuff about banks, so we can hear all that stuff. But I tell you, a really good bank relationally is Navy Federal. All right? It's Navy Federal because they have an internal credit score. They have an internal scoring model that will allow you now to capitalize on their products. And because you are working with them, and your relationships are robust with them, they tend to extend greater levels of credit to their banking partners. But these guys, man, they're good. I love to talk, and I love to hear their expertise and their wisdom. So do me a favor. All right, anything else before we go, guys? One last thing from the elder.
One thing, this is where I am now, but it wasn't always like this. Because there were times when I did apply for credit cards, and they told me, yeah, all right,
Not
like,
right, not no, yeah, no.
Yeah,
wrong.
Yeah, that's what it was. And the thing is, taking the stuff that we can apply now, that we're learning now, and starting to do those things and put them into action. And then just remember, you can start from wherever you are. It don't matter what you're doing now, but start from wherever you are to do the right practices.
That's so good. And I want to say something to you because this came to mind as we wrap up this section on our finances, is a lot of times we say, I cannot afford. And most of the time, I know there are three things we really talk about we can't afford to do. I can't afford to save, invest. I want you to begin to change your language and begin to say, I'm an investor. Someone say, I'm an investor. So we say we cannot save or invest. Oftentimes we say we don't have enough to pay off debt. All right? So we say, I can't afford to pay off more debt. Now, let me give you just a little snippet. You can afford to do it because you can fast off of that Starbucks. Just one Starbucks, you can put $5 in your savings account. If you just held back from one Starbucks a week, you could put $20 or 20-some dollars in your savings a month. May not mean like a lot now, or just one meal, or just start saying I'm going to eat 2 meals a day instead of 3 meals where I'm going out, or I'm eating 2 meals a day that I buy out on the economy, I'm just going to eat 1 meal a day, and whatever that other meal costs, I'm going to save it, or I'm going to take that and pay off a bill, or pay off toward a debt. You can do. Someone shout, "I can do it." I can do it. Y'all didn't say it. Say, "I can do it." Somebody shout, "I can do it. I can do it." And let me tell you something. The Bible says in Genesis, there will come a time that money fails. There came a time that money failed. Listen, this financial situation and this money situation, you can continue to think that it will be as it is forever. All right? And I was just talking to the elders in the back. Listen, what happened in the pandemic was simply a test to see what you will tolerate. Let me say that again. It was a test to see what you will tolerate, to see what we would tolerate. So it also becomes a precursor to what will come at another time. All right. So this is the time, listen, and I'll say this, for you to start cutting expenses, saving more, paying off debt. Paying off debt. Cutting expenses, saving more, getting out of debt. This is that time. Because it's about to get intense. I'm not trying to scare you. As a prophet, I want to prophesy your prosperity. I want to prophesy your good times, but I also want to prophesy what's coming and the changes that we need to make to be able to navigate through what's coming ahead. Amen? Amen. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Well, I'm going to go from a practical standpoint. That we just hear about glitches in stuff, right? We heard about those glitches. Banking has become so digital, all right? So if a cyber attack, if another country, if Russia and China, let me stop, come in and do some type of cyber attack on infrastructure, takes down infrastructure, because most money now is a digital numeric representation of what you say. So money moves fluidly throughout the system now, and it is no longer backed by gold. So our government does not have to have a gold physical representation. That's why it's called a fiat economy. So the question is if America can print money on demand, why do we need to have debt? See, if I could make money as fast as I wanted to, why do I need debt? So now I'm saying that because we see that debt, if not used properly, becomes a demonic tool of the enemy to manipulate people. So you have certain people that use debt and debt structure to keep other people in bondage. That's why the Bible said the rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the. Y'all got to talk to me. I talked these scripture already. The rich rule over the who? Poor. Meaning that there are some people that have oppressive agendas. This is the best I want to say that, because so we cannot depend on that. When we were talking about it, you keep trying to trust in money. You want to trust and I'm going to talk about this in a little bit. You want to trust in politics. You want to trust in a candidate. You better put your trust in God. And watch this, because politics are never going to hold weight to godly principles. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. My whole message today, oh boy, y'all see that, right? Y'all see that. Oh boy, y'all probably need, gentlemen, bless you. Bless you. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Will Banks. Thank you. Come on, let's give them the biggest round of applause that you can give them. Y'all going to be screaming louder than that in a couple of days for SEC football. Give them a big old God bless you.